There's nothing really big in the news this week with respect to health, but there's a lot of medium things, so let's play lightning round and get you caught up to speed. This is Healthcare Triage News. First up, yellow fever. There's a pretty big outbreak going on in Brazil with about 600 cases and almost 200 deaths. Yellow fever is a mosquito-borne hemorrhagic fever that's caused by the infection. Some of these deaths have been in travelers to the region, although none from the United States yet. There's a vaccine for yellow fever, and none of these travelers had received it. It's effective. About 90% of people who get it are immune in 10 days. So why don't people get it? There are no doses of the only licensed vaccine in the United States available. Worldwide, supplies have been low for years. We haven't had any cases in the United States for a century, but it's still in South America and sub-Saharan Africa. Manufacturers haven't had any incentive to make a lot of the vaccine in years, so they don't. Story number 2. I can't remember if we've discussed the whole Theranos thing here on Healthcare Triage. I feel like we have, but that could just be because I've been obsessed with it on Twitter. There's a company that said they had invented technology to do blood tests super fast with a tiny amount of blood, and they raised a ton of money and made deals and were valued at like $9 billion, and then it turned out it might all have been a lie. They never published any research on the technology, they never proved that any of it actually really worked, and it drove me crazy on Twitter. The charismatic CEO, Elizabeth Holmes, was super famous for a while, well, though I guess she still is, making all kinds of promises and having a Steve Jobs-like mystique. She only seemed to wear black turtlenecks. And because of a Wall Street Journal reporter by the name of John Carroll, it all came crashing down. Seriously, you should go read his stories about his investigations. I have never been so excited to read a book as his upcoming one. John, please send me a galley gobby. The news the last week or so is that Holmes and Theranos' former president were charged with fraud by the SEC. Holmes agreed to pay a $500,000 fine, give up majority voting control in the company, although how there still is a company escapes me, and be barred from serving as an officer in a public company for years. Also, because of the way her stock was set up, her net worth went from over $1 billion a few years ago to literally zero, according to Forbes. Amazing. Finally, the FDA announced in the last week or so that it's going to put limits in place on how much nicotine cigarettes can have. Look, it's just a first step and it's going to take a while, but this is a pretty big deal. A New England Journal of Medicine paper said that this could help about 5 million people quit smoking and save about 33 million people from becoming regular smokers by 2100. Why? It's the nicotine that's addictive. Smoking kills half of the people who smoke in the long run, usually 10 to 15 years earlier than they otherwise might have died. As a prominent researcher, Michael Russell wrote, and I'm quoting, "People smoke for the nicotine, but they die from the tar. If we reduce the nicotine, people may smoke less. They might also quit. Every little bit helps." Hey, did you enjoy this video? It really does help if you like or subscribe to the show right down there. And while we've got you, anything you can do to help support the show in other ways is appreciated as well. And one way to do that is patreon.com, a subscription service which allows you, the user, to support the show for like a little $1 a month. And if you don't want to, that's fine. It will always be free. But if you can, it helps make the show bigger and better. We'd really like to thank our research associates, Joe Sevitz, Carlos Hiergos, and Crafty Geek, and as always, especially our Surgeon Admiral Sam. Go to patreon.com/healthcaretriage. Links also down below. And while we've got you, get any merch you like at httmerch.com, and my book, The Bad Food Bible, still out there, still available in stores. Really appreciate it if you pick up a copy.